This sketchbook might be the most fun I've ever had in a sketchbook, and I'll tell you why. It didn't start out that way. At first, I hated this sketchbook. I hated how it felt. I hated the paper, the size, the thickness. But over time, the more I drew in it, the more I loved it, the more fun I was starting to have. This is my ugliest, most fun sketchbook. So this sketchbook was a gift from my mom. We got it at a stationery store, a local stationery store in Malaysia, and they make their own books and journals and stuff like that. It's a really interesting size, which is why I got it in the first place. It's 14.5 by 14.5 centimeters, so it's like a square thing, and I don't really usually draw in square sketchbooks, so I thought it was really cute. And I'm a big fan of these exposed stitch bindings. I'm not really sure what they're called. I don't remember off the top of my head. But they're nice for sketchbooks because they can open flat like this, and it's thread bound. So I was like, okay, this was, it seemed like it had a lot of potential in a sketchbook. I got this in 2022, and then I left it there for a while and didn't touch it. So most of the drawings you see in the sketchbook came from the last couple of years. I did not like this sketchbook at first, and this is where the troubles first started. I'm personally not a big fan of drawing on toned paper, like brown or gray paper like this. Now, I know a lot of people like it because you can add like white color pencil or white ink to get like some highlights in your drawings. Personally, I'm just not a fan of it. I think it's a little too low contrast, especially with the inks I use. Maybe if you're someone who only draws in black ink or like dark, like charcoal, then it might be your thing. But for me, I'm not a person who likes it. So I felt like it was a bit wasted on me in any case. But then it sort of gets even worse. And the problems start becoming immediately apparent. And that this paper quality is absolutely horrendous. It's really, really thin. And the label doesn't even tell you what weight the paper is. Usually on like sketchbooks labels, they will have like the specs of the paper, right? How many pages, the dimensions, and the weight. And so not having the weight of the paper here is already actually a little bit of a red flag, because like just feeling this feels like 80 GSM copy paper. It's like that level of thin. And it's nice. It's a nice color. It's like toned in like this like warm off-white beige color. But it's so thin that almost everything bleeds through it. Actually, not almost everything. Everything bleeds through it. Even like ballpoint pen. These are not so bad because these are brush pens, and like if you move really quickly with a brush pen, the ink is a little bit more dry and then soak through. But the moment you pause or like add a little bit of a darker spot onto the paper, it will start bleeding through. Yeah, and even like gel pen, like the high-tech C, you'll see bleeds through. Because of the level of bleed through on the paper, it's a really unpleasant experience. Like to the point where like my paper already looks like this. It doesn't make me want to draw on it. And I started out drawing quite normally. I treated this as a regular sketchbook. I tried doing like some nicer drawings on here with the brush pen, with my fountain pen, and this might actually just be my favorite drawing in the book in general, and it's one of my favorite drawings I've made in a long time. So I did try drawing on it as if it were a normal sketchbook, and I sort of skipped one page over. Usually I draw on both pages, but because of the bleed through on this back side of the page, I opted to not, right? I drew only on one side of the page. So yeah, this was like quite a normal sketchbook for me, but it got to the point where it was not very fun. Like I wasn't having a good time drawing on this, and I was kind of like dreading using this sketchbook. And the only way to like not have like that level of bleed like this on the sketchbook is to just use like graphite. Like graphite doesn't bleed, right? So yeah, it was like I was trying it out and I was dreading it, and it's not a thin sketchbook. It's 200 pages, so it's like, oh man, there's so much bad paper left to fill. Like I have so much more unpleasantness ahead of me, and I gave up on it a little bit. Like I said, I got this book in 2022, And I just, just left it and it just sat on my shelf for a while. And I treated it like scrap paper almost, because I just didn't really like how it felt. Like, look at this. This is ballpoint pen, and it bleeds right through this paper. So I had to like cover it up in order to, make this whole thing look better and have the experience to be a bit more like pleasant and just nice to draw in. So yeah, I started treating it a little bit like scrap paper because I didn't really value this sketchbook very much. A lot of these are just sketches and thumbnails for my personal world building project, Botanipunk. And speaking of a world building project, let's talk about the sponsor of today's video, World Anvil. Ever wanted to bring your worlds and characters to life in a way that's as creative as your art? Well, World Anvil is here to help you do just that. Whether you're creating concept art, designing characters, or developing entire worlds, World Anvil is the ultimate platform to keep your vision organized, accessible, and ready to share. With over 20 world building article templates, you can easily document everything from cities to creatures to characters, and best of all, turn your artwork into interactive pages. Imagine integrating your maps and visuals into your world, letting others explore your universe just by clicking around. With character galleries, detailed world descriptions, it's all here to bring your imagination to life and let you create a world that's as dynamic as your artwork. And if you're looking to create complex characters with rich backstories, World Anvil's character sheets lets you map out every detail from physical appearances to personality traits and even character relationships. And if you've ever DM'd a game, you'll know how helpful that is. For those of you who are looking to share and showcase your creations, World Anvil makes it easy to publish your world in a beautifully presented format. You can share your world with friends, collaborators, or fans. It's a perfect way to present your project. Use the code CHROMA at checkout for 51% off any yearly subscription. That's right, 51% off just for you. So what are you waiting for? Click on the link in the description below or head to worldanvil.com and use the promo code CHROMA for 51% off your yearly subscription. If you're an artist who wants to organize, create, and share your world like never before, head to World Anvil today. Once again, thanks to World Anvil for sponsoring today's video. Let's get back to it. We flew through the first 20% of this sketchbook, to be honest, because there really isn't that much to talk about. I think of this beginning part as a prologue to the story. Yeah, sure, there are likeness practices on graphite here and some sci-fi brush pen drawings, which is nothing I haven't done before and nothing you haven't seen surely if you've watched any of my videos. So there really isn't anything remarkable as such. This page is a study for after watching Avatar 2. There are some really cool crab mags. So I think this is actually from the movie Avatar. And then these are just my riffs on the idea. I really love the concept arts from I think it's Fausto who designed the hearts of his stuff on Avatar, and it's really great. Yeah, and so this is look at this. This is ballpoint pen drawings, and the amount of bleed that happens with just a regular ballpoint pen or gel pen is kind of, in my opinion, egregious. If this is the blank page you were given and you were trying to draw over this now, this is not a nice starting point to be doing any drawing. And even here, I left a lot of these spreads blank because there's just way too much bleed through for me to even want to draw on it. But yeah, so that's kind of the prologue of this, and here are more design drawing ideas. And I figured this is not really a good way to approach a sketchbook. It's kind of antagonistic, and that's not a relationship I want to be having with my sketchbook. And I tried drawing this. This is really funny. Someone said that the robot was doing the gritty, and I could not stop thinking about that. Yeah, so I did try again. It's okay, you know what, let me just maybe do more brush pen drawings, and brush pen tends to bleed less if I'm good with it. But even then, right, you see it's quite a bit. And so I thought about this, and I came across this really cool quote by the actor Willem Dafoe, and he talks about making the more interesting choice when it comes to it's an interview. Talking about decision making and acting, and talks about making the more interesting choice as opposed to making the correct choice. And that kind of resonated with me a lot. Like I thought about this and yeah, I felt it, I related to it. And this page was sort of like the turning point for me. We're kind of at the halfway mark already, almost. But yeah, like this is where the sketchbook started turning around for me. And I wrote this to myself here. It's like a little note to draw uglier. And the reason I say this is because like as artists, especially as professional artists, you tend to inhibit yourself a lot. Like, you know, anyone who's a little bit more mature as an artist, even if you're not a professional, you've done this, you've been drawing for like, let's say, over 5 years, like seriously drawing, tend to develop a lot of inhibitions because this is the right way to do things. Like, this is the proper way to design a car and this is not a proper way to design a car. And this sort of like inhibition permeates our whole lives, not just as artists, but like even as like adults. You know, we stop playing, you know, and we get a really self-conscious moving through life, whether it's just being a human being in public spaces or, you know, showing your art on social media. You want to just do your best. You want to make things that feel like they're going to be successful and liked by other people. And so there's this level of like inhibition that's ingrained in all of us, and especially myself. But yeah, so I just started pushing myself to draw things that are uglier. Like this isn't a very pretty drawing, but to me, there's an idea here that's a lot more interesting than just drawing like sci-fi vehicle, right? This is like what I'm talking about, where it's like, okay, how can I push an idea to the extreme? Like how goofy can I make my ideas? Like, and all these shapes here and all these weird shapes, like I'm not trying to make a beautiful drawing. Like I must admit that the drawings in front with the brush pen look so much better, but to me this is a lot more valuable as an exploration, and it's just emotionally, just drawing and feeling like I'm allowed to make weird stuff and you know, cool things I think are cool and funny. I think funny ideas are so underrated. We try to chase cool a lot, but we tend not to chase funny. And like the drawings here are still scribbles. Like I talked about treating this as scrap paper earlier with all the, you know, these sort of like scribbles and thumbnails and stuff like that. And then these are just as loose and as like ugly as the previous scribbles, but of a very different nature. There's like clay involved now. Like I'm trying out ideas. I'm thinking about like, okay, let me just use a ring as a head and like use it for different forms and applying that idea and seeing where it goes. Like I'm drawing things that I normally wouldn't draw. I following my gut feeling of like, what do I want to see happen next, right? Because like sometimes when you're drawing, and I don't draw with a pencil under drawing, so there's not much planning going in here. When I'm drawing, I'm just like figuring it out as I go, right? And like for tanks, for example, if you're drawing a tank, you kind of, after finishing the first half of this bit, you can kind of see or imagine in your head where you think the back half might go, right? It's just going to be a flat thing, and then you can sort of like picture this and visualize it continuing all the way back here and being flat and having a turret here, like you would a conventional tank. It's like, okay, what do I want to see happen next though? What happens if I take the more interesting decision, right? I'll push this up here, or like this one, instead of going this way, I'll push the wheels down. Let's see what happens, right? And I think these ended up being a little bit more interesting to me, and it's just more fun to draw, right? Like this is completely illogical, but just like as a thought experiment in a way. What happens? Same with these are just like me following the flow of like organic lines and thinking about like I was like looking at like lace wings, I guess, the insect, and like seeing how to incorporate that into like maybe a glider or a spaceship, something like that. But like again, these are really loose and really ugly, but then again really fun, like way more fun than the normal stuff I was drawing earlier, and even stuff that I was drawing in like other sketchbooks where I kind of wanted to keep the drawings a little bit more like nicer and a little bit more refined. There's a place for those like really nice drawings. I think these would fit in like my nicer sketchbooks, like more finished sketchbooks. But then there's also a place for stuff like this where you're allowed to fail and you're allowed to just do whatever you want, right? Like it's just about unlocking that limit in your head, like that limiter about what you're allowed to draw and what you're not allowed to draw. And slowly these ideas get refined. Like this play becomes more refined, and you can take ideas here, which I think are like more interesting, and build them into something finished. Because of how already ugly these drawings are, like this stops bothering me. Like I would definitely, if I were trying to make a nice sketchbook, be so bothered by this bleed through, and I would probably just stick something on top of it, like another piece of paper or a post-it note, sticker, just to cover it up. But like I don't care anymore, because it's all about the idea, and it's all about chasing that gut feeling. And so, I just drew this and I was exploring, and then, taking this idea and bringing it over here and making it more refined and figuring it out. But these shapes are not shapes that I would normally draw just because, right? There's no real good reason why I don't normally fall into these like habits. And just like not even shape design, just like conceptually here too, it's like, what happens if I cram a ton of detail onto a single mech? Like what we talk about, like, having areas of rests and having areas of detail. So like if you cram too much detail on the thing, it's like, oh, it becomes way too noisy, and then there's not much hierarchy in your forms, which is true. I definitely agree with that. But how far can I push it? How far can I push it with like the density of detail and the complexity of the shapes? How far can I push this to the point where I start breaking it? And like even this, me taking an idea or like a concept and just going to way past the line, like what I think the line is. Like I think I'm going at 120% with this idea, but even then, like it's not broken yet. So like I still have a long way of pushing to go before this like idea of where I think the line is actually is. And as a result, I think a lot of these ideas in here that I said you could bring over and refine into something more finished will end up actually getting refined into something like a more finished piece, because I think these ideas in here fundamentally are very strong. They just need more cleanup. These are studies from Amano. I think this is from Enjoy. But like the idea, the underlying idea behind these designs, like these creatures here, the shape is to me strong enough that I can justify spending a bunch of time refining it and turning it into a portfolio piece. And some ideas here stick around for longer than others. Sometimes an idea just like stays in your head. And for me, this idea that stuck around for a bit is this like visual language of 3 circles on a mask. And so I just played with it a bit more, just like finding different variations on the idea, using that same circular theme and applying it to the clothing. Here's another expression of that. And just like messing around with it until you get it out of your system. Here's like me, like, okay, pushing that idea to 100%. What's the goofiest set of headphones I can design? And just pushing that shape. And you might end up with something really, really cool. And so some of these ideas just take a lot longer to get out of your system than others. Here's an idea of like this front of the character being made out of a different material than the rest, and like it being like a translucent like plastic maybe, or glass, and this idea being translated to this one as well, where the front is like a different material. So it's like there's like a through line that you can follow, and you can just keep pushing and pushing and pushing at it, and just keep making stuff based on that single idea, and redrawing it until you get it out of your system. Here's another one where I'm just like exploring organic buildings. It's also for the world building project, because that's just like in the back of my head. So it's what I tend to sketch out when I have nothing to sketch out, just like exploring. And this idea of like this organic buildings, right? How can you make it sci-fi still, like, and apply that shape, this organic shapes, to something that's more sci-fi. So here's my take on it, where I have like different like materials that look organic, but are applied modularly in a very like modern or sci-fi way. And then like this idea again, it's just getting it out of my system. Like I like this building with like textured blocks, and I'm just playing with that idea, like this textured block on the building, right? And then here it is again with a textured block on the building that's like expressed differently. It's not just about like doing something and then doing it one and done, right? You have an idea, you get it out, it's like, it's okay, and then you move on to the next idea. But like if that idea is good enough, you can kind of keep pushing at it and you can kind of keep making a bunch of stuff out of it, right? You can just make multiple pieces based on the same idea, and they'll all come out differently. That's kind of like how artists build a series, like fine artists, like Jackson Pollock has like an idea and he wants to express it. He splashes paint around. He's not just gonna do another painting where he doesn't splash paint around anymore. It's like, okay, I'm done with that. He takes it and he does it over and over and over again, and the process evolves and he gets better at it and he gets more refined. But the underlying like idea or the underlying philosophy behind it remains the same. And it's something that I'm trying to wrestle with, something that I'm trying to do with my own art. And here it is again, but a little bit more refined, and there's slightly different expression of that same idea, where instead of like it's like a texture block, it's like one single piece like that is not necessarily a pattern, but is an abstract like shape, abstract design. And if you take that and you apply it to like a flat wall, this looks freaking cool. I think that's where the exploration happens, and that's where you find out like what you truly like and what you don't like. And that to me is also like it's a phase of like developing your style as an artist, is like you having an idea and pushing it all the way to its extreme, or like doing as much as you can with it, right? Running as far as you can with it, and then seeing where that goes. And maybe that endpoint is your style as an artist, because you might end up really, really enjoying that specific process or that specific design style or language. Here are just some studies of like on Pinterest that I found of like some pump parts or mechanical parts. This is just me finding stuff on the internet and thinking it's cool and drawing it. Here it's just like again, the idea of that pattern shape. So it's like, this pattern here, and also maybe some stuff here. That's like, okay, what if I applied them to just props, right? Like these are fantasy props, like pendants, or I don't really know what to call them, like those dream catcher charm things, right? I was like, okay, what if this was like a sci-fi thing? Like this doesn't look sci-fi, but in my head, this could be like the access key to that building, right? It's like an RFID tag that you can take this and you can tap it, you tap it and that's how you get in the building, instead of like a traditional key. It's like, okay, that idea, there's a thread there that I played around with enough in the building form, and then translating it into like a smaller thing, and that's like the whole world that you've already built. And then whatever, I just draw some motorcycles, like some super weird long motorcycle, long wheelbase, weird forms on a motorbike. And again, this idea sort of sticks around for a little bit, but we'll get to it. Like here as well, it's like, okay, what if it's a really, really tall bike, like a penny farthing, like a guy has to climb a ladder to get on his motorcycle type bike. Just like goofy ideas, right? Like I wouldn't normally draw this on a regular sketchbook, because it's like, oh, that's way too weird. It's not like cool enough. It's not conventionally cool. And I would have just like thrown that idea away. But in this sketchbook, I felt empowered and I felt safe enough that I could do it. And it's weird because it's also like this dynamic of a sketchbook tour is like when I draw in the sketchbook, it's not like I'm doing it to show other people, like to show in a video, but there's always that little piece in the back of my head that is like, oh, at some point you might make a sketchbook tour out of this sketchbook, so you should draw nicer drawings in order to make it a better video. If it's a better looking sketchbook, it's ultimately going to be a better video, I guess. So this is what I'm talking about with the ink blotting. Like I tested it out here and it bled through 2-3 pages of like paper, and it was just like regular ink. It was just like normal fountain pen ink, and this is what happened. So that already is like kind of turned me off on the sketchbook. This was like a test I did way before I started any of this, like back in 2023 or something. Okay, so back to that idea of a sketchbook tour, and I just needed to get comfortable with the idea of being okay with showing this sort of stuff. Like this stuff ain't pretty. This stuff ain't the most like, okay, these are pretty cool drawings, I must admit, but like stuff like this, right? This stuff isn't pretty, and it's not like anatomically correct. It's not really refined in any way. But I had to be comfortable with showing stuff like this because I think the people respond to it better. Like genuinely, I think they do. Because if you draw just for the sake of making a pretty picture, it may come off as inauthentic. It's not saying that all pretty pictures are inauthentic, but if you're just doing it for the sake of doing it, there's a level of inauthenticity there that people catch on to. Like, it's unconscious, and I don't think people actively like recognize it, but it's there. But if like I follow this idea of like, hey, look at this spiky head guy. Okay, what if spiky head guy took off his armor and that's just what he looks like? I might not need to spell it out for you, and you might actually not even know that. That's what I was thinking. But I think that people catch on to it, that there's a level of authenticity there that engages with people. And also, I just want to show you guys like what it's actually like to draw in a sketchbook and just be like stupid, you know? Like, this is really dumb drawings. All these drawings are like really, really dumb. They're not like things I would show clients or things I would put on my portfolio, but it's just like, oh, hey, I'm just messing around, right? This is just like a demo I did for a friend. We're talking about universal joints. Like, how would I like add lots of complexity and movement to a mechanical piece without like over complicating that joint part? Because like from an engineering perspective, that can be extremely complicated. So like, okay, let's just do a universal joint. This is a demo I was doing with a friend on Discord, just showing them. Yeah, so like this kind of ugly stuff, this would never make it onto my Instagram page. But I think I need to be, and maybe everyone does, I guess, but not to get too preachy, but I think I personally need to be more comfortable with the idea of just messing around and then being comfortable with showing other people that. And not to get too personal, but like, I think that over the years of making content on the internet about art, there's a level of awareness that I've had that like when I make art, I am vaguely aware of this idea of like, hey, at some point, you might make content out of this. You might show it to the world and it will be seen by thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people. So, hey, try to make things nice. Try to play it safe. Do what you know, and then draw a nice, pretty drawing. I think that's absolutely hampered my growth as an artist to some degree. It's not to say that I haven't made any progress as an artist, and because I absolutely have, but I think it has hampered me. And this sketchbook is sort of like my way of like pulling the band-aid off. Just like, hey, mess around with this sketchbook, do all sorts of weird things, right? Put a gold nose on a mech head and then show it to other people. See what happens. See how it feels. See how it feels not to even think about showing it to other people. See how it feels to just make the thing. And like understand that like even if it's a bad drawing and even if it's a goofy idea, it's not the end of the world. Like, this is totally okay to draw. And hey, if you don't want to show it and if you don't want to make a sketchbook tour out of it, great. But if you do, that's also fine. And here we're approaching the end of the sketchbook where I'm just drawing like I like the idea of having guts on a spaceship. Maybe it's because of like Concorde or whatever, but like I like the idea of putting guts on like mechanical stuff now. It's cool. I was just playing with that. And just a little like, drawing here of that idea of like having organic parts on a mechanical thing. What if I took that idea even further? What if I put like a dragon tail in the back of a spaceship and gave it like, instead of landing gears, gave it like actual like flesh feet? So that's like an idea that I'll mess around with, and we'll see where that goes. But overall, this sketchbook is kind of a little bit of a turning point for me, where I'm not really thinking about making pretty pictures. I'm thinking about cool ideas and pushing them all the way to its limit. And hey, if the picture is pretty, great. If it's not, that's also fine, because we can always make the picture prettier. Like, we're all good enough as artists, especially if you've been doing it for a long time, to make this picture prettier. Like, I can shade it, I can add more colors, I can do all sorts of stuff. But if that base idea isn't good enough, well, what are we doing here? What are we doing? And I think the takeaway from this is that it's okay to make ugly drawings. In fact, maybe sometimes we should try to make our drawings a little uglier. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a good rest of the year. Bye.